Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is to discuss why does a borderline fall for a relationship? uh, basically intimately, romantically with a psychopath. She's saying we borderlines, we get sucked in like no other, and please help. So that is a great viewer question because when it comes to someone who is borderline, they are very susceptible. They're very moody, melodramatic. They have a lot of passions, a lot of moving parts, a lot of highs, lows. Things right, black or white, you're in or you're out. I mean, and then it's getting, and sort of oftentimes, I feel with borderlines, their low self-esteem can be navigated, or maybe their volatile self-esteem, which goes up and down quite frequently, can then be basically calmed back down by a psychopath. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but more important, to understand, someone who is a borderline, realize, you have to realize and acknowledge what is your own impulsivity. Because I think one of the things that stands out with borderline, um, and it basically in how, basically it's the self-referencing, and relationships that are unstable. In other words, the provoking to conflict. This is a very difficult but attractive uh, personality type not to get caught in the boxing ring with. Okay, so a borderline, the way that they feel and think, can make you very susceptible, meaning you're like waving a red flag, I'm here, the biggest cherry on the tree, to a psychopath who can see, people who are moody, who have fragile self esteem issues, and would benefit from a Superman or Superwoman flying in, giving you their arm, I'm going to save the day, and then they whisk you off into a myriad, basically predetermined and calculated ways that they know that they can pull your strings and manage you and make you unmanageable. And then that's you sort of fulfilling your identity. Fulfilling is kind of a key, but we want to make unoperative to help you. So I really want to kind of look at that borderline. So knowing to what degree is impulsivity and self-reference that you can own for yourself. If you had a few moving little things like 12 cups, to what degree can you say, and maybe you see it now, maybe you will see it after this video, to what degree is my impulsivity, like these are like impulsivity coffins for you, like impulsivity creep shows. I mean, this will impulsivity in the borderline. I just want to kind of focus in on that trait or quality I feel that can be part of the temperament. So impulsive, which means really liking to get things going, and then the resolution of that, it makes you feel alive or vibrant, even though it's getting ugly. Let's get a handle, but it doesn't get a handle, and it can become, ruling your life. And so a psychopath, one of their main goals in my study is how they break people down is they want you to be constantly thinking about them. You don't know it, but it's a subconscious sort of how they get sort of the grounds warmed up when they will groom, or someone who they're targeting. How do they sort of get the dough ready for the pizza? How do they combine the ingredients? What's the mishmash? What is going on? Because a psychopath, one of the main, and we're going to get back because there's so many moving parts in this dynamic. Like you said, we could probably do a lot of videos on this. That's a great question, by the way. Kudos to you for the good question. And so, as one of the, and I want to kind of tie it together as we go little by little, and we can repeat these things, or we can repeat the video. But one of the things I feel that how a psychopath will social engineer people. They can social engineer a company if they want to get to something in there, or a romantic relationship at a date, internet dating, Tinder match. Forget about it. I mean, this is their play yard. This is their this is their ticket to paradise. 2 tickets to paradise. Pack your bags. We'll leave tonight. I mean, that's how they operate. They're charming, good looking, just they seem to have everything in order, cool, calm, collected. And so, part of their charm, though, and how they break people down is that sort of the psychopath bonding, where they're sort of getting in deep within you, and you sort of don't realize that they're making their own, I call it kind of a psychopath language or code. Sort of people maybe in popular mainstream, I call it word salad, but they have their own way of sort of putting in their nails of what is called enigma, or sort of brainwash gaslighting, as it perceives meaning, and how they sort of seduce, because the psychopath, they seduce and manipulate all the terms in conditions of whoever they're in romantic. In other words, what you're saying in this romantic relationship, who you're attracted. This is just you're attracted to. I mean, impulse. I want the chocolate. I mean, let's just call it the chocolate. Let's just call it what it is. It's nothing but a fix to satisfy an urge or an addiction that's been fostered or nurtured within. So we got to get a little bit of self-understanding. If you're looking at borderline and getting it and help, is to recognize the role of impulsivity, and where do you have rooms in your mind, corners, Friday night, where's those hot spots where you're on a dating app, you're thinking you got to get out there and go with a date, and this automatically fills that gap. So you got to say, oh, I'm not filling that gap. I'm not filling that corner. I'm not filling that need. I'm not following that urge. Oh, but peace and harmony, this is like bread and water to me. Oh boy, that's what you're thinking. Borderline, I feel in my study, that's your borderline speaking. Let's give it a cute little name. Hey, cutesy bebop, Mrs. Borderline. Hey, buddy, that's your impulsivity thinking. Hey, buddy, boobop, whatever you're going to refer to yourself. Whatever you call yourself, you got to have kind of a way to have a gentle, nice referencing, very gentle. Hey, maybe kiddo, it doesn't work, but something you give, that you get your own attention. And that's like the wild horses. They're going to drag you away. And you even though the aftermath, oftentimes borderline people, they're unable to control their impulses. Let's just call it the chocolate. We got to get a new reframing and sort of a new image for what it is, because what it is, it's not satisfying. It's not, it's just going to perpetuate, and you can sort of back out to the point where you go, I'm not even craving chocolate anymore. Ugh. And you're going, that is sickening. It's because the psychopath, they want you to always be thinking about them. And what you see, what you think you're falling for, that's not what you get. So if you want to say, I'm just going to live my life and not get what I really want to get, I mean, you have to do some thinking and saying, I see my self-sabotaging behavior, and have a little bit of, okay, a little chutzpah, and say, okay, I see where the impulse is coming from. Or I have this men, they put on this shirt, they gotta go dating. Women, they put on some shoes, I gotta go dating. I've got to, do you really, and you have to check your thinking. I've got to. Do you really got to? So we just have to gently look at this. What is your own? You really have to. You need to. My happiness is predicated. Then you have to say, what is a predicate? It's based on what? An iceberg that's going to fall. My happiness is based on a iceberg that's going to break away and melt off, and I will never be happy again. So realize what you're sort of committing to in your impulses. And if you think about a really interesting, and we're going to talk about that, because I think, a psychopath will know just how to get you always thinking about them. Something funny that they say, when they text you, when they call you, how they rescue you. I mean, it's a whole saga and journey that pretty soon you'll want to sort of donate all those books that contain that story of your life written there, because you're like, oh, okay, I thought I was going to, I am actually, and you have to see the actually and go, and even if it seems really empty or scary, and just say, okay, that's the borderline talking. It's really not that scary. That was just a segment of learning, and then you have to sort of recategorize and reframe a new schemata is what they call it in psychology, is you have to write a new story about it, and you have to, without their hearing or anybody else. This is for your ears, your own notebook, pen only. There's a lot of sections in the book that I'm working on, and we talk about it in all the videos, where you've got to realize what is the difference between I am interested and I am committing. Are you interested in not going that direction, or are you committed? Interested or committed? What does that mean and feel like? Okay, and then what can you be committed to? Okay, in controlling your impulses, just like an impulse eater. I think, they go shopping and they say, this is going to last me a week. It doesn't even get to the refrigerator for a day. They're just impulse, if it's there, they're going to eat it. They don't have, any control. And then at some point they go, you know what? This is devastating. It's costly. I don't look good. My clothes don't fit. This is over. And until you can really say that and kind of say that, and then really start getting to that, and then what that means, and being very clear with oneself. Because a psychopath will love to get an easy, someone who has got an unstable, sense of things going on, and then here they appear just like the perfect, stable tree that you could park a bench under and do all your picnicking, build a house next to. It's your people every day today call about their forever. It's your forever tree. It's your forever prayer answered. It's everyone has a similar experience, and the psychopath knows that that's sort of like the skunk spray that they smell, that they spray before, they like sort of put that bedazzle on, and then they go on for the chokehold, which is to have you constantly thinking about them and wearing you down, to the point where you can't sleep, you can't eat right, your routine is disrupted. You can't think clearly. You gotta settle things now. You start thinking irrationally. I can't drive. I can't make coffee. I gotta, and then all of a sudden, you've got your fear. So they're all that what's happening to them is like all the treatment that they're doing. They have a lot of hands-on programming, just like, a two-factor. They're programming from the get-go. That is what they do. So someone who is borderline is going to really find themselves in and in and out of a lot of these circles because of the propensity for a psychopath to not divulge either another part of their life, another part of their personality. They might come across as like, they might be or come across as a teacher, or no, with something different. Okay, they might be like a scientist. They might say, they work at a nuclear reactor, or in a PhD, but they're actually something else, like a truck driver or Amazon or something, and they don't divulge. Like, they have an ability to just to sort of move through and like gravitate and just sort of be very sort of engaging from moment one. They know how to put people at ease. They have another sort of disarming factor. Again, it's like the skunk spray that they anesthetize their room with. And you can tell, when is the cycle engaging, because usually a person is stuck in their gaze and everything else seems to disappear. It's just how they are. They're they're an intraspecies predator. So that has to really mean something to you when we say that. When Dr. Robert Hare, who studied, in University of Wisconsin, the Hare checklist, and studying like the incarcerated population, you're going to have a large degree, maybe 50%, who find themselves there, who are psychopathic. But these are people who will exploit people's sense of reference of self. In other words, they know that how devastating it would be to others to shock your family, shock your marriage, shock your job, shock your studies. They know how devastating, but they plant all this to be, and they know that you're especially fragile. For them, they get a big dopamine hit, like they just hit a win on a video game when they see their prey freaking out, screaming, 4 a.m, texting, calling. He's like, oh, he's like, I'm good. And then other people, will say they're acting crazy. They don't see the connection. So there's a lack of reality, accountability, and testing, especially in the beginning, sort of that psychopath skunk spray where they know exactly what to say. And a psychopath will tell you this, as long as we're unpacking this today. A psychopath will tell you or admit, that how they get in the beginning, how do they originally, what's their original skunk spray that they do? Oh, this is great, oh, this man, woman, what have you, is they will tell you, like nobody ever else or in any other way, they will give you the message and satisfy a need in you like nobody else in no other way. So in other words, they'll hit on that hamstring, that emotional hamstring that makes you go, ooh, In other words, if you feel that you're lacking validation of being smart, you feel dumb, they'll ask you something and you'll feel smart. So they'll ask you a question and then, oh yeah, I'm smart about this. And they know that you could open up and talk. And they're like, okay, that's, so they will tell people exactly what they want to hear. If you understand what that means in terms of in a criminal manner, in other words, to the point of whatever it is, and so people then who are maybe understand it's different than just being used. It becomes a whole different proliferation of internal problems for the people who are targeted or who are seduced by them, and especially their eyes, the psychopathic stare, where a lot of people misinterpret it as sexual innuendo. So they're very good at just seducing, and they know this, okay? They know this, and so they know how devastating it would be, you know, this time of your life, this prime of your life, what you need now for the holidays, for your birthday, for, and then little by little, how the fragility comes is people then end up doing a lot of just sort of denying really sort of needs and red flags because they're running on superpower, sort of this psychopathic, what you might feel is an opium. Opium feel good, it is not. It might have you sort of dreaming or feeling that way. And so people who have addiction history, addiction problems, alcoholic tendencies, addiction tendencies, will get into intercourse with these people and not able to like let go of them, because there's this sort of gambler mentality of like, we didn't resolve it this time, and then eventually there's these little wins, and then the psychopath just knows what little small peanuts that they can throw, and they meanwhile are entertaining. They've got all sorts of other fantasy and activity going on that you have no aware, and they have no intention of fulfilling what you think or what they are. So to the point where you couldn't comprehend. And so for people who are borderline, especially, it becomes very difficult to process. It'll take over. So, so you'll cling right away. Borderline cling. It's got to be close. It's so you have to get to know this and know what does your body automatically move at, like it's jumping at a starving sting. It's like a skeleton choking on a crust of bread. Like, to what degree are you still not getting what you need but going over impulse, and then that fear of being abandoned, being exposed, being exposed yourself. Well, there usually is a lot of secretive transactions, experiences, or innuendos that get together on the in text, in video, whatever is all the seduction creation, especially if you're afraid, you don't want to be alone. You don't want to be abandoned, I think is usually. So people with borderline always want to make sure they'll overgive, so they'll over-mother, to the point of their exhaustion, and then they can't control. Like, I don't want to be giving away like all this or whatever it is that you're doing. Own it, claim it, and know that you can get over it. So when you say, I'm so done with this, I'm so done with losing this or losing my cool or whatever it is, you can just say, you know what, I am. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you have to degrade yourself. You can just say, I'm so done with that habit and that situation, and I've got a handle on it. So, and just say, I know that's me thinking that I'm just going to be left in the cold somewhere, and just say, okay, I got it. That's just that, that, what do you call it? That hole I'm going to fall into. Not falling in that hole. You just talk yourself through it. I'm not falling in that hole. It's literally when they'll have you behave. You'll text your way into the hole. You'll, whatever your way. Do not step out of the hole. Feel okay without. Okay, feel okay. It might seem odd, awkward, difficult. You can walk it out. You can do something different. You can watch a movie. You can get involved in a productive situation or unproductive, whatever it is you need to unwind. And so in terms of, a psychopath, when they are sort of grooming their victim, and there's always going to be many of them. So it's not that one victim has a better, or the one that they worked at, or, it's not better. The grass is not greener. The perfume isn't sweeter. The wine isn't more savory. You have to know that intellectually and know it in your heart. I mean, what do you need to see, if you haven't. So and then start, because then there's this, I know that there's what I would call, if you're a borderline person, it's especially difficult because this fits your unstable sense of self. So these psychopaths will very readily, I think, give borderline type of people a secure sense of self. In other words, things will just begin to come together and click. It's so easy to talk to this person. No one else gets it. This person's so easy to sleep with, eat with. How we can have quiet time. The psychopath knows all this. So, or they know that they need to do the talking. But what's very scary is they can really interfere with wiring, and just like a electrician, okay, who they have like an advanced degree, emotional, they can undo people's security. Just, you have to know, the undoing that they try to dishevel. You cannot underestimate. And, so if that you are like their ultimate playground. And you don't want to say, oh, I'm such a good player. You want to say, you know what? Maybe they can go, and maybe there's someone bigger and better that would just let them go, because I'm obviously, I'm not happy with this dynamic. In other words, you see yourself in the dynamic and saying, feeling that that's the only way for you to resolve or get out your energy. The problem with these psychopaths is the premeditated way, in that they will know that they will leave people undone. I can't work after this, and then you're sort of keeping the psychopath engaged, and people. So that's that clinginess, wanting to cling to something that is not there. And so realize, if you want to hold on, then just say, I'm holding on, man. I got this. And just saying, I got this, and I know. You need to get some guttural, and you need to repeat that. You need to also watch some of the videos that we talk about this. And when, and with people who are borderline, you live by the lightning bolt, the emotional mood swings. It's hot, we're going to ride it, but when it's down, and maybe you get to the point where it's getting ugly, and the psychopath will lead. I always use this analogy. Back in the day, there was Jerry Springer, who used to have the shows with the people fighting, and then they'd invite on the cheater. This was their hut, and they'd be throwing chairs. And whether it was made up or not, do you really want to be or become that person on Jerry Springer, throwing chairs, having police come over, issuing this, going to the doctor, having unstable relationships in and out, and constantly having fits about this? To some degree, you can just say, I want to put my foot down, and that's okay, and I'm going to get good about it, and wherever that is where it's supposed to be, and you've got this. Of course, with borderline, there's a lot of reframing, I feel, that can help. Reframing means you need to look at things in a more accurate, realistic way that isn't disturbing and sort of perpetuating. Like, you need to reframe and see evil for what it is, and see it for it not being tantalizing in the way that it was. And if you feel that, well, what is going to fill that void, then you can say, well, what is the void? I can't even get that far. Well, then that you can say, I can't get that far. Well, at least you can recognize that this sort of, that you need to rehearse, and with repetition experience, you might need to work on this for several months. several, you might need to really work on this and improve, you will, and get out of it, you will, and you'll be able to see a wolf full of wolf. You won't want to invite them in and have them into your bed. They'll destroy the smell of your home. You'll want to throw out everything. They'll probably eat your furniture, and and it'll be very. So what this is not, this is not something you want to toy with. You want to listen to these statements, and you want to feel and believe, and feel the quantum, meaning get into your body, a complete and distinct separation from that temptation. Then turn off your phone, get a new phone number, go without a phone, go without a TV, go change it up, throw out your entire whatever wardrobe, bedding set, get everything new, do a behavior and activity that is productive, and that is giving you some result, and not the self-harm, because if that is, if you want it to stop, you have to will it to stop. And you need, you can also talk to a doctor, take care of yourself in ways that you can, and even look at some other sort of shows like The Minimalists are big now, and realize that they talk also about having sensitivities, and you need to understand that you have and can say, I have some sensitivities, and that's not a good match for someone who is disrespectful and for someone who has no conscience. It's and so knowing that to be the case, so you have to have your priorities reset. Priorities are reset. Behaviors reset. So, with the self-harm, okay, so we can walk through some of this a little bit. So, of course, and then, the ruining, getting into a fight, exploding, at an employer, at an employment, at an interview, at a public place, thinking that this is going to finally resolve it now that you've, and then there comes the anger that then gets turned on the self, the acting in, hurting of oneself, punching of oneself, hitting of a head on a wall, cutting behavior, just to reduce some sort of tension, just to get it, there's other ways. There are options. So you have to go, whoa. And let's look at the options. And literally, it's like, put some mittens on, go for a walk, and just find an easy way that you don't have to get all sorts of things, keys, phone, where you just have an easy, I can go for a walk. When you find yourself impulsive. I didn't bring my water. That's okay. And so a psychopath, so when, and knowing that, they're like smoking a cigarette, drinking a drink, getting basically entertainment value. And, from relationships, so I think, one key thing in healing is you don't want to think like a psychopath, because they have a different, to them, organic way of seeing, feeling, and thinking. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that's coming up in the news. Ooh, boy. We know the initials BK, do we? So there's a whole landslide going to be coming in this year about that situation, which we might do a thread on. But so realize, that you can change. And you have to find what it then is leverage over you. So maybe you don't like, so you might say, I don't like myself when I slam the doors. Then you might have to, in that moment, and say, I am so done. I don't ever want to be like this. If I want to have a good, strong, stable sense of myself, and then incorporate and share that with another person, I have to start right here, and I have to stop slamming things. Okay, people who have borderline, they tend to have a lot of aggression, anger, explosive energy. They, you can see it adding, boiling up. There might be apps that you can redirect yourself, that you can avail yourselves of. But I would definitely, recommend that when it comes to that undoing of you, the psychopath, they're just getting entertainment value. In other words, in that, you should say that's not going to be a value. It's not going to be a build. So then get sort of clear in a more gentle sort of, even though I don't want to admit it, what I'm really looking for in a relationship is, even though I've never admitted it before, what I really want in a relationship is excitement. Is that your impulse speaking? If I wasn't listening, if I could put, my impulse sort of down, if I could put the impulse aside, what would be really good in a relationship is, and just about yourself, and then keep it to you, for you, and then so see about you, in other words, and see about some things that maybe you were put on your list, maybe remove them from your list, because some of these might be trouble inducing, places that you have gone, things that you want to recreate, super excitement, super adventure, is that, how can we temper that down? And so that you're not, jetting off to that and seeking people who can give you that unhealthy release. So we've got to find and get into healthy ways of actually producing the results that you're thinking, because the psychopath is just gonna, they're gonna go and continue to do, and you don't have to teach them any lessons, or whatever your impulses are telling you that you still need, you do not need. You still need to settle. You still need to tell them something. You really need to show them how angry you are. You really wanted to show them how much this, that, if you are you being pushed, you have to then say, okay, am I really? And you have to, and then where do I go from this? So you have to then find, well, where do I back out of this? Because little by little, then you might need to say, then I need to have an event. I need to go to the library, go for a walk, go to a neutral place, a new neutral place, and develop a new pattern, a new habit, a new reliability, something that you can go to a degree of permanence that you can tolerate, or with flexibility. And recognize to what degree are your emotional mood swings getting in the way? To what degree are you creating your own obstacle? I am becoming a stronger believer that we create our own obstacles. We literally put them in the way. And so if we can then begin to understand that as a truth, and then understand that you can then stop putting things in your own way. And if you're used to that, it's probably because you're needing some distance to protect yourself from some sort of fear. So, then you have to say, okay, then we have to look at some base feelings such as fear, and anger, and to see to, do you only have a couple feelings here sort of ruling things? Our fear, fear goes this way and anger does this. Is this kind of all the resources you are currently pulling from within? Or can we reframe and look at something stronger, okay, that you can then call upon, and instead move into something what is gearing toward productive to a degree that you can tolerate, and with repetition and experience, even though you might not like it. This doesn't have to be what you like. Growth is going to be required to do something that is not comfortable for you to do. You're going to have to, you're going to have to go through some discomfort, and you've got this to get to more comfort. In other words, and that will be in just start in the doing, and just start with the knowing. And look at ways, where healthy outlets you can engage in small increments, and just begin to fill with a couple different things, and to the best of your ability, sort of keep all eyes and hands off that has anything to do with that sort of seduction impulse energy. Just be like, I'm going to go for a different floor in this building here. I'm going to go for a different level. I'm going to back out of that. And where do you find that? In a lot of gatherings? Is it repeated at certain social gatherings, sports events? And, and then realize, and then work on some core feelings that you do have value, you do have worth, and work on some core experiences that you can develop, that you can begin to see. I think that borderline, it's almost like it's like an emotional blindness to your own worth. It feels like, sometimes it's a place that you don't visit much, experience much, have an ability to see, recognize, or remember. It's almost like a worth amnesia, and to say, so knowing that to be the case, then, just say, then what can I have and get comfortable with a positive self-worth experience. And to what degree can you see that and acknowledge it, and for even a little second, and allow it to build to your comfort level, and then fill time and behavior with that aim and focus, and just get it going. Like, have it like the footprints already laid out for you. Like, you could just walk right into it, do what you need to do so that you avoid that temptation for emotional mood swings. Whether you need to do some deep breathing, walking, retraining yourself. You need to go on recovery dates, and just, and get some new gear to go out there. Get some different gear for a different event. I don't go there because. I don't do it because. I haven't stopped doing this because. Get to know the cause that creates the effect is another recommendation for borderlines who are, because the psychopath knows better. They have kind of like radar or x-ray vision. I liken it to someone who might be blind but has an acute sense of hearing. So even though they're devoid of a conscience, which means in their prefrontal cortex, where judgment, morality, right or wrong, sort of discernment is going, they don't have activity going on where it says this could lead to a lot of problems, like this people, like it doesn't, it's just, there's air, I don't know what it's not there. The activity is not going, that would be hurtful, that would be unwise, that wouldn't be right, to have marriages to one person and then have another that they don't know about. Kids with different people, jobs, companies. I mean, it's just, so you don't need to focus on that, and look and redirect your focus. Redirect focus and just say, redirect focus. Strong, strength, redirect focus, calm, strength, redirect, and then you need to reprogram and find that cool, calm, stable level where you are in it and you are in it to win it. You're just in it, but you don't have to have, there's no more battle, judgment going on. Step out of the boxing ring. Step out of it. I'm done boxing. I'm done with this conflict. It's a waste of time. And develop your own terms and conditions if you can. We'll talk more about this in future videos. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out. Have a beautiful day.